I think the way things have gone for them, Carl, they won't be full of the joys of spring, these two.
No, not at all. And Max there, missing that 8-ball, that's just... Well, it's unforgivable.
Mr. Kaci won the leg.
It's unforgivable, and now he's got to play again.
So it's Kaci gets to break off because he had the superior lag.
Rack number 1, Mr. Kaci to break.
Well, it was a pretty decent hit, and he parked the cue ball, but yet again, it's a dry break.
When the schedule was made for this match, late on the penultimate evening of the first round robin, given what they've achieved in the game, you might have assumed this was going to be a highly competitive affair. As it is, they are 15th and 16th respectively in the table. Low on confidence, almost without hope.
It's a foul.
Oh. And for Max Lechner, it is purgatory.
Start the clock, please.
Yep, draws the cue ball straight into the side pocket. And that will help Kaci because he can put the cue ball wherever he wants.
Extension, please.
I think he's playing a 2-9 combo, stick the cue ball behind the 6 just in case. But he misses the combo.
And so the just in case part was just as well.
He's got to play this with loads of left-hand English to check the cue ball up. Hits it hard, and it was a valiant effort. Over on table 2, Yap is at the table. He's leading Fortunsky 4 racks to 3, so he's got a chance to close that match out.
Yes, and if he does, his hopes of making the top 10 and going into the phase 2 round robin would still be very much alive. Actually, a win for him would be another blow for these two.
I was just sat with Kaci about 30 minutes ago, Phil, and I was, of course, I was giving him a little bit of stick, you know what I'm like. My opening line was, "You playing some good pool, pal?" And he just looked and laughed, and we had a little chat. And I said, "Who beat your first match again? Who was your first match?" He said, "Oh, it was Yap." And then he told me, because there were so many matches, he took it a little bit for granted early on. He felt like he couldn't fail to make the top 10. I said, "Well, that's a lesson learnt, isn't it, pal?"
Did he not know, though, that points carried over?
Well, this is another funny thing, because Kaci's known for not really studying formats and understanding what's going on. So I said, "Well, you know, points carry over." So he said, "What do you mean?" I says, "Well, if you win all your matches in the group, you're on 15 points, so you'd be through to the final 6. "Oh, right, I see. Yeah, I didn't know that," Carly said.
Amazing, really.
10 seconds.
I think he needs a manager. Kicking at this 2 rails. Cue ball's going to go close to the scratch. And there it goes, disappears. So this is just the start we were expecting between these two. They're both at the bottom of the table. Confidence is going to be low. Probably both feel like their tournament is over.
Yeah, I think both have just got a ray of hope. But you have to believe whoever loses this match, that is it.
There's table 2. Yap didn't close that match out. So Fortunski's just about to draw level. That's going to be a final rack shootout.
And what a vital one that is for this round-robin table. Both players are in the market for a win, I can tell you. It would mean an awful lot to the one who got past the post. The amount of simple balls that Max Lechner has missed, obviously the ones that come into sharp focus, are the ones that have gone astray when he's been on the verge of victory. The 8 ball in the match against Joshua Filler-Just. And this ball, the 6, he missed against Kelly Fisher in the deciding rack.
Going to have to use both short rails. Cue ball's going at the top rail and then come back down off the bottom rail to get position on the 9, and that's a job well done. Lechner's going to take this first rack.
Yes, he goes 1-0 up, even though he was guilty of a scratch. A match involving 2 players who have their spirits very low right now. So over on table 2, they've just broken off in the deciding rack.
This is a little tester, tricky opening shot into the right centre. He's going to draw the cue ball off the left side rail just above the middle and try and hold for the 2. Or he could maybe play it with a high ball and come down the table off 2 rails and back up. So the pot's a little bit harder because he's striking down on the cue ball. Nice shot there from Yap. They're not easy, them. They look a lot easier on your screens, but when you stood behind them with a cue in your hand, they are testers.
This is the last match for both of these 2 today. Then it's one final effort tomorrow.
My current score is 1-0 in favor of Mr. Lechner. Mr. Lechner to break.
Also the final match of the day for Max Lechner. But Eklent Kaci has to hang around and play the last match on table 2 against David Al-Kadi.
Another dry break. And the 9 balls moved. Yap's at the table on table 2. He's got them 4 balls left. He's on the purple 5. Needs to draw back.
Extension code.
And try and stay as far on the right side of the table as possible. Because the green 6 is next. That's the ball you see at the top of your screen. So doesn't want to get too much into this. because you're going to be leaving yourself a thinner pot.
10 seconds.
He's got too much into it, and now he's left himself a thin one. Maybe he should have just killed the cue ball and left distance. Might end up having to play safe here and lock the cue ball up behind the 8. He's only got 7 seconds to play the shot as Yap. Needs his cue ball to weld on top of the 8. Job well done. Nice shot. Fortuny's just got to try and hit this 6 ball, Phil, and if he hits it, just kind of hope, really. Kaci's in a funny position though on table 1. He's going to play that 2 ball. Not really sure what he's going to try and play.
Extension code.
Don't know if he can bank it onto the 8. Is the 8 over the pocket enough? That's what he's tried. And he's scratched. The day just keeps on getting worse and worse for Eklent Kaci.
When you're down in professional sport, you often get kicked. Right now, Kaci would not disagree. But I think it's really an unforgivable error not to know the format of the tournament and not to know that the points carried through to the next group. As we see, Fortuny
Start the clock, please.
not only failed to escape, shoot the cue ball right into the pocket, ball in hand, and Lucius Yap has 3 pots for a vitally required win. Well, that was so sloppy. It really was a very poor positional effort. No wonder he dropped his cue in disgust. I think so many players, because of this format, the unrelenting nature of it, are starting to feel mentally fragile.
Just focus on the pot. Cue ball shouldn't be going anywhere near a pocket. And the 9 ball's down. And he wins a hill thriller. Back to table 1. Max has got the 7 ball, the 8 ball over the pocket, so should be no problems here.
The ironic thing about Max Lechner, he's won an awful lot of racks, just hasn't converted them into match victories, missing the odd ball at an inopportune moment. Doesn't miss the 9 though, thanks to being the beneficiary of 2 Kaci scratches, 1 in the first rack, 1 in the second. Max Lechner leads 2-0. Just thinking about the implications of the Yap victory over on table 2 against Fortuny. Well, it means their fate is still undetermined. There you can see Yap joins Fortuny on 4 points. Right now you need 5 to be in the safety zone. 4, you're in the relegation zone, but things can turn around quickly. And what might make a big difference here, you know, look at the racks difference. Kelly Fisher is -10. But for the likes of Oliver Szolnocki and Mieszko Fortuny, their racks difference is still in single figures. Whichever way you look at it, Max Lechner and Eklent Kaci are in desperate, desperate trouble. Of course, in the vast majority of tournaments, Carl, even if you lose early on in double elimination, you've still got one more chance. Whereas here, the loser of this match will be playing for pride and a small differential in prize money between 16th, 15th, 14th and so on.
Yeah, and I think coming up on table 2 next, Phil, it's Szolnocki Fisher, right? because of course Shaw and Omar Al Shaheen have already played.
That is correct. And Shalnoki Fisher, that's a blockbuster, isn't it?
Yeah, where they're both placed in the league, that is a massive, massive game. Kaci's got a shot on this one ball. 7 balls a little bit trickier. 3 and the 5 look tied up, but when we get another look, I think the 3 ball does go. So looks a little bit messy, but I don't think it's as bad as it actually looks, because I think once he gets to the 7 ball, if he gets to the 7 ball, I think he can play a billiard and make the 9. So let's see how Kaci goes about these. I think Kaci's just got to dig in and get a bit of pride now. Don't, you know, lose the rest of your matches and finish bottom of the league, pal. Dig deep, show the world what the real Kaci is about.
Sometimes when you're commentating on a match that's absolutely outstanding, we say we've run out of superlatives. With these two, it's a case of running out of words to say about how badly they've performed, although that was much better.
Yeah, he was a big favourite to make the kick shot, really. It was quite close to the pocket. Still had to hit it right mind, so back in position. Just needs to be careful with the 9 ball here and the side pocket. I think he's okay there. He did it the 8 ball, he didn't mean to, but he can get through the gap. You can just tell with Kaci's body language, I'm not saying he's give up, because he hasn't, but he's just, you know, he's used to winning tournaments. He wanted to be up near the top of the table and find it out. So he's finally won a rack in this match.
Indeed he has. Eklent Kaci, racks have been hard to come by. Sustained rack winning has been very hard to come by. At least he's on the board here. Max Lechner's lead reduced to 2-1. Welcome to the ballroom at Stadium MK for a match of the cellar dwellers. The last two players in this round robin table, 15 and 16 head to head. It's a match that, in many respects, is surrounded by doom and gloom. For 4 days, these two have had little success. At least one of them is going to win this. Of course, there is another unwanted title. In the UK, we say if you finish bottom of a table, you collect the wooden spoon. The wooden spoon could be up for grabs here. It's just a notional idea. No one really gives you a wooden spoon. But it's something you want to avoid.
I think what I'll do tomorrow morning, Phil, is go to the local shop and get a wooden spoon.
Well, that would be entirely appropriate because you've always been a stirrer.
Four days of non-stop action here at this year's Premier League pool.
Extension, please.
And we're closing in on the opening group to see who qualifies. You just know, don't you, Phil, it's going to go down to the last match for somebody to get that 10th spot. Nice jump shot there from Kaci. No shot on the 2. That's the opening rack there on table 2 between Nocky and Fisher.
Right at the start of day one, we displayed the odds, the pre-tournament odds, and I thought Oliver Nocky at 28 to 1 offered a little bit of value. Might still do so, but has to win this match. You don't want to play under immense pressure in your last matches on day 5, knowing you simply have to win.
Oliver Nocky wins the first rig.
10 seconds.
Sean Nocky 1, Fisher 0. Kelly won't panic though. She was behind on 3 occasions against Alusha Shap, including 3-2, ended up winning 5-3 earlier this evening.
Looked a pretty good safety shot there from Max. I think he's been a bit unfortunate and just left that little window in between the 7 and the 6. Didn't leave the potting angle though, so that was the main thing. Kaci needs cover from the 9 and he's found it. Kaci's going to go 2 rails. Try and kick this 2 ball from behind. If he gets too deep on the 2, he may scratch in the corner. Maybe it's a little bit too close to rail. Yeah, you can see how it squirts over towards the corner. It does that a lot if you don't hit the 2 fully enough off the second rail. So Max has missed a few pots this week. Striking down on the cue ball. Yeah, good shot.
When you think about the tariff on the 8-ball he missed against Fisher, compared with the tariff of that shot, just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and he missed the 8-ball against Filler earlier on, so he's definitely had his chances to win points, hasn't he?
I know if is a very big word, but had he potted the 6 against Fisher and the 8 against Filler and got to 4 points, he would have gone into this match very much in contention for a top 10 place.
Or on table 2, Kelly Fisher's just played a beautiful kick shot to hook Oliver's Sholnucky back.
10 seconds.
Myself and Phil have got the pleasure of watching both tables at the same time. So even though you guys at home watching might not see table 2 all the time, we will try and keep you updated with special shots or usually bad misses, because we're bad like that, me and Phil.
Well, surely this one is going to find the target. Lechner, 3-1 up. And the more he prospers in this match, the more you can't help but think about the missed 8-ball against Filler a little earlier. So while they're racking the balls over there, let's take a quick look at table 2. Fisher's been one of the most heartwarming stories of this first phase. She's still got work to do, but we all know she's capable of doing it.
Played a 2-way bank shot there, knowing that if she misses the bank, there's a good chance she's going to hook her opponent. Now he can see this too, just don't know if he can pot it. No, he can't. He can just see the edge, so he's trying to split the balls, and that's not going to be good enough. So that's going to give the upper hand to Kelly to lay a good hook back. Safety side in 9-ball is very underrated. People just think break, clear the table, but these safety exchanges, they win you some amount of racks, let me tell you.
As a collective, Carl, the Filipinos, when it comes to this part of the game, they're in a different league, aren't they?
Yeah, they really are, and especially when it comes to the kicking. They're very good at kicking 2, 3 rails, hitting the right side of the ball to make things happen. They look for other balls on the table, what might be spoiler balls and stuff like that. They really are very, very clever, especially Efren Reyes. I've had the pleasure of playing Reyes a few times, and you play a safety shot and you think, oh, I'm happy with that one, and then all of a sudden he kicks it on you and you think, this man's a farce.
Yeah, good to see that Efren actually played in the recent Derby City Classic, now into his 60s. Loved the world over, admired.
Nice shot there from Kaci. One ball's going to bounce out, so he has a nice shot. Sometimes this shot can always be a little bit tricky, even if he's got an angle, because he's trying to spin this in, and often the spin does what it's just done, gets too much in it. I don't believe he was playing it that way. He certainly wasn't trying to come through this gap. He's done well to find that little gap in the end. He can pot this in the left centre. Kaci's younger brother is actually in England at the moment as well, isn't he, Phil?
Yes, got to the quarter-final of the World Snooker Federation Junior Open. Had some really good results. Looks like a really good curist. Cledio Kaci.
Yeah, I'm sure Cledio is watching. At least one Kaci's been performing on English soil. And this is a little tester. Yep, they are just so missable when you're just not in a good place. I've been there myself, Phil. I'm sure you have when you used to play your snooker back in the 30s.
So disrespectful to your elders, Carl. Now then, the 8-ball has cost him dear already in this session. Will this one be cued straight and true?
Extension, please.
It's another one of them shots, isn't it? Because obviously Max is not feeling great out there as well. He's missed a lot of balls. I'd like to see him just cue this one in softly. Don't try and draw the cue ball back. You don't need to do that. Just stun the cue ball dead. Let the pocket take the 8. That was a job well done. And this 9-ball now to get himself on the hill.
10 seconds.
The misery for Eklent Kaci continues. If he's going to win this match, he has to win the last 4 racks. The way he's playing, the way he's feeling, the way things have gone, that would seem a very long shot. So back to table 2 for a moment. Still in rack 2. Kelly Fisher trying to force a mistake, a misjudgment, trying to force an opening.
Yeah, the reason why this rack's been going on usually a little longer than most pool racks is because the safety's been so good and the kicking. He's trying to pot this ball, he's trying to pot it in the bottom left.
10 seconds.
He's got to allow for the slide though. And it was close, just hit it a little full. But he'll be happy with that one.
Raced around the table to see the angle. Now that suggests to me that he's already taken his extension.
Extension called.
Fisher using hers right here.
That's very tight. She's having a look. It won't be the worst result if she overcut this, because if she overcuts it and the 3 hits the top rail, it's going to come back towards the 6. And the cue ball will go to the other side of the table. Oh, it's a wonderful pot.
Rack number 6. Our current score is 4-1 in favor of Mr. Lechner. Mr. Lechner to break on the hill.
As John Lehman, the referee, said, Lechner on the hill breaking.
Couple of options here. He can either play the bank into the top right pocket where he stood, or he could play a billiard, use the cue ball to pot the pink 4. There are his options. If he does play the billiard, he's got to try and go rail first, because if the cue ball goes into the ball first, the scratch could happen.
10 seconds.
So he is playing the billiard, so let's pay attention to where this cue ball goes. Yeah, you see how it caught the rail first? That enabled the cue ball to come back out.
Now this is really deceptive. The one ball just travelled on a little too far for Lechner's liking. It's close to the pocket, but boy, this is really tricky.
10 seconds.
Well done, especially with the side he imparted, to get away from the red 3 ball. They say there's no point crying over spilt milk, but surely somewhere in the darkest recesses of Max Lechner's mind, he must be really regretting that missed 8 ball against Filler.
Yeah, it was a little bit like this one as well. That was a better pace. You see how he let the pocket swallow the ball? So if you don't hit it clean, it's got more chance of going in. Fisher's at the table on table 2. She's got 3 balls left. He's got a little tricky 7 ball. Still early days in that match. She trails 1-0.
If Lechner doesn't qualify for the final 10, he will board the plane to Austria with his Q case, a suitcase, and a bag full of regrets. Partially regretting that shot. He's well short.
So this 9 ball to win the bottom of the table clash.